Hey, we're back. You're listening to the one place where you'll hear me, Patrick Riggins. And that's the Patrick Riggins Show here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network and News Talk 98.7 WOKI. All right. One of the big news stories this week was the budget deal reached in Congress to avoid another government shutdown in January. I have a quick clip of the press conference where Paul Ryan, the Republican from Wisconsin, and Patty Murray, the Democrat from Washington State, they presented their budget, which has now passed the House and is awaiting a Senate approval. Here is the clip that we got from the press conference there.
I'll have a generous portion, for which I will gladly pay you Tuesday.
There you go. He'll have a generous portion of your money, for which he'll gladly pay you on Tuesday. In this case, Tuesday morning on down the road when he's safely out of office and your children are paying off the country's huge debt load. In all practicality, these people are robbing them, your children, and your grandchildren, and probably many generations after that. And they're robbing them of any chance at saving any money for themselves or their families. Heck, the government's already killed the interest rate in this country so that it can finance itself with cheap money. Never mind, it's ruined everybody's savings account with that whole 0.5%, or is it up to 1% now? 1% interest rate that you get on your money. No, let's keep this party going for another year and let the next generation pick up the check. That sounds fair, doesn't it? Did you hear Boehner get into the hissy fit about the conservatives daring to criticize the budget deal? I'm sure you did. It's been all over the media. You know why he got so angry? It's because he wants robots to blindly support whatever the Republican leadership wants. The Republicans, they want this minority base that will blindly vote for them, just like the Democrats have. This is why the Republicans are all racing to out-Democrat the Democrats. This is why I say the Tea Party Republicans, the Libertarian Republicans, the true base of the Republican Party, you've lost your party to the liberals, to the establishment. We've got a clip of Boehner. If you haven't heard it, here it is right here.
You mean the groups that came out and opposed it before they ever saw it?
Yes, those groups. Are you worried that
They're using our members and they're using the American people for their own goals. This is ridiculous. Listen, if you're for more deficit reduction, you're for this agreement.
This is ridiculous. If you're for more deficit reduction, you're for this agreement. Dang it, stop criticizing me. If he honestly thinks this agreement's going to reduce the deficit, then he's either lying or he's crazy. Paul Ryan is the Republican author of this agreement, is no friend of Americans either, despite the fact the conservatives were tripping over themselves during the last presidential election to endorse him and Romney. I mentioned it before a month or so ago. Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, Laura Ingraham, all these conservative leaders, all these conservative voices, all of them telling us how great Paul Ryan was. But not here, not on this radio show. I was just about the lone voice warning you about him. In case you've forgotten, some of the staff went back and put together just a couple of clips from this show last year to remind you of the consistency and logic that you're going to only find here on the Patrick Riggins Show. Now, this first clip is a little long, but it starts off with a clip from a campaign speech by Paul Ryan, and then you'll hear my comments after it.
That American idea, that opportunity society with the safety net that's there to help people who can't help themselves, that's there to help people get back on their feet who are struggling.
That American idea, that opportunity society with the safety net that's there to help people who can't help themselves, that's there to help people get back on their feet who are struggling. That same statement could have come out of the president's mouth or any other liberal Democrat who might be giving a speech. I've said this over and over. There is not a hill of beans between the two major parties or their candidates. The American idea is not an opportunity society with a safety net. That is why we're having the problems we have today. These guys just do not understand anything but their big government mindset. I don't think it is possible for them to even imagine any other solution other than one involving the government. The government is not responsible for providing anyone with a safety net. Keeping it simple, the reason is the government would have to take money from one person and give it to another to provide that net. Something that is blatantly un-American, or used to be anyway. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this if you haven't been told before. Me, nor anyone else, is responsible for providing for you. You are the only person responsible for that. I'm sorry if you're sick, disabled, or born with some kind of disadvantage. The plain and simple truth is, I'm not responsible for your predicament. So I shouldn't be held responsible for paying for it. That is the cold, hard truth of life. But having said that, I think there is a moral obligation for us to take care of one another as much as we can. But there is not a constitutional requirement for it. You absolutely have to know the difference. Otherwise, you start trying to legislate all sorts of things based on your moral compass, which may not be the same as others, and frequently isn't. Morals are not rights.
There you go. That's why this show is so popular. The principles you hear on this show today are the same ones I was arguing for when the show started. That's not something you'll hear on 99.9% of the radio and television shows on today. And that's why this show is growing so quickly. Here's one more quote, much shorter than that one that I played on this show last year.
Every problem doesn't disappear to the workings of the free market alone. I would love to say if we just went on the gold standard, it would all be settled.
There you go. This is the true thinking of a government knows best politician. And the Republicans wonder why Romney and Ryan couldn't win. Why the conservative base did not turn out and vote for either the Democrats in name or the Democrats who call themselves Republicans.
Every problem can't be solved through the free market alone. That from the Republican, mind you, who co-authored this budget deal. This is what I mean about no difference between the Republicans and Democrats. You know what the Republicans lust after so much that the Democrats have? I mentioned it just a minute ago, and that's what all this builds on. It's these minority voting blocks that will vote straight down the party line no matter what. The black vote in this country breaks 98% to the Democrats. And that just kills the Republicans. The Hispanic vote's starting to go that way. It breaks predominantly to the Democrats. That's the one minority the Republicans are hoping to turn into a blind voting bloc for themselves. I just played that clip of John Boehner getting angry that the conservatives weren't falling into line and voting like they're told. It irks the Republican establishment that here are these Tea Party people daring to think for themselves and represent their voters. You see, the Republican leaders don't do that. They don't care what the voters think. They're pretty safe in their congressional seats, so they don't think they have to listen to what Americans want. There was a story that ran this week quoting some Boehner allies, but not mentioning them by name. What they said was, quote, when Boehner tries to placate the staunchest conservatives in his caucus, these allies say, the results are a government shutdown, a major loss on the fiscal cliff deal a year ago, and other Republican embarrassments. Well, one person the story did name was Steve LaTourette. He's a Boehner friend and former GOP House member from Ohio. He said he's heartened by the stepped-up actions by Boehner, the chamber, and others frustrated by Tea Party tactics. He warned, however, that mainstream Republicans won't tame the Tea Party faction without huge amounts of effort and money. These leaders and other establishment Republicans are actually embarrassed by the Tea Party representatives demanding the government be held to a standard, demanding that government stop all this spending. That's why I tell you, we need to vote them all out, every last one of them. Turn Congress over every election. Kick everyone out each time, and maybe we'll start making some progress. Our founders never intended for this to be a lifelong career, yet we have people who have done practically nothing but sit in Congress. We're up on the bottom of the hour break here on the Patrick Riggins Show. When we come back, we'll have a lot more to work through. We'll hit a couple more things that I have in the stack here before we run out of time this week. This is one of the disadvantages to having just an hour show on Saturday. So when we come back, though, we'll hit on that stuff and a lot more, and we'll try to work through it all before we run out of time. Here on the Patrick Riggins Show and the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.